Hey there, badass dream makers. This is the Relationship of Your Dreams podcast. It's Alex, your badass dream maker host. I'm here because I believe that all humans deeply desire and thrive in loving relationships. And let me tell you, it's possible because many do find the love of their dreams and more. I'm just here as a guide to help you through the variety of obstacles and hurdles in dating and relationships so that you can also find the love of your dreams. And you're bound to learn about yourself as well. So, 2-in-1 deal. We will get deep here and you may feel triggered at times. Triggers and discomfort are part of a growth process. However, please use discretion as to how much discomfort you are ready for. Now, let's jump into this juicy episode and get you what you want. Hello and welcome back to the Relationship of Your Dreams podcast. This is Alex, your host. And today we are starting with Tessa Schwall, who is an award-winning graphic designer and a certified life and energy coach. She is a creative consultant that helps you build your vision and translate your dreams into a reality using your own unique skills that'll put you ahead of the crowd. Tessa and I had gone to QCA, which is Quantum Coaching Academy. So we're both QCA alumni, and that's where we learned about our coaching skills and modalities. And we connected on Instagram and started sending audio messages back and forth about the benefits of human design and how she uses it with her clients, with her children, and with her husband, and how that's helped her relationships. And I just want to start by saying that human design has helped me immensely, and it uses your birth chart and basically guides you as to how to use your energy best and how to make your best decisions without having to backtrack or clean up after yourself, because you're learning how to make these decisions best right off the bat. And we will get more into it, and I'm excited. So let's welcome Tessa onto this podcast. Hello, Tessa. Thank you for joining me on my podcast. And I know it was kind of soon into our talking to invite you on my podcast, but I just feel like we had a lot of good conversation about human design and like how you incorporate human design with your clients and your family. And I just thought that was so cool because I have an increasing interest in human design and I've gotten my boyfriend on board with it. And I feel like that is helping me understand him and him understand me. And as we know, this is a podcast about relationships and also self growth, personal development, all that stuff. And I feel like human design is so key in all of that. I'm just realizing that increasingly. And yeah, so that's why I wanted to invite you on the podcast because there's a lot of things you said about human design that I'm like, oh God, she knows a lot of things about this. And I really want to get her on the podcast to talk about these things because I think they're so important, like we were saying. So yeah, I was just wondering if you'd be open to talking about how you use human design and astrology and numerology in both your personal life and your relationships. And I know it's a big question to start, but take it whatever direction you would love.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for having me here with you. I know it was kind of interesting how our conversations progressed. I think I reacted to your story slide about human design or something like that. And then we just took off from there. And it's been so fun chatting with you about it because I do think it's kind of like a tool that more and more people are becoming familiar with and waking up to. And I'm so on board with that because I've kind of been on this journey for, it's got to be close to 5 years now or so. When I first learned about human design and how powerful it is. So, yes, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to share a little bit. For anyone that is not familiar with human design, it's very much similar to how you'd learn about astrology and some of these other modalities and like characterizational systems. But what I love about human design is that it's kind of a blending or like a synthesis of not just astrology, but the chakra system, the I Ching, like so many different tools that uh, people have been using for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So it's really cool to see how all of those systems have kind of come together in this newer type of system called human design. And I'm kind of yet to see this this tool be like debunked in any way. It seems like every single person I talk to, you know, there might be a couple little details where they're like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But the more you dive deeper and deeper into the learnings and the knowledge that you have within your own human design, your own body graph chart, as they call it, um, and the more you start kind of uncovering what's deeper within you and beyond your personality, but even to things like your deeper like knowings and instincts, and even some of your like triggers and traumas, like it really is wild how on point this tool can be. So I guess that's my way of introducing it.
And
But
I definitely agree that I have yet to see it be debunked by anyone as well. I mean, I tried, and my boyfriend is someone who will definitely challenge everything and anything. And he's also like, wow, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, like, that's part of why I love human design because it's really honestly so many people agree with what is being said. And if they don't agree, I think there's often an insecurity around what it is that human design is saying.
yes,
So,
yes, yes.
yeah.
I'm so glad that you pointed that out. And I'm not going to get too into the weeds into like um, the body graph chart and how it's all set up, because there is so much information that you can gather from your human design chart. If you do want to, after this, I'm sure Alex will link in the notes how to grab that. But one big piece of human design that I think some people miss initially in um, you know, grabbing their chart and understanding a little bit more about their own unique design is that um, not only is it based around mostly the chakra system, as I had alluded to, and your different energy centers in your body and how your own energy best flows through them and from them. But overall, in a greater scale, the human design system is actually kind of a marriage of two different sides of you uniquely. And if you were to pull up your chart and look at, depending on where you get your chart from, there's typically two different colors that are on either sides of your chart. And one of them is like your deeper, most like authentic, like from birth type of traits, and the other is very much what you emit and like what your personality has grown to be over the course of your life. So it is very interesting, to get back to your point there, that a lot of times people don't maybe realize certain things in their chart that are so spot on and true to them, because maybe it's not something that they can see yet, because it's like something that is deeper within them that they have to learn about themselves on their personal development journey. Or maybe they don't see it in themselves, but like some of us can see of them, which I'll get into a little bit if we want to get into some of the different human design types. But yeah, highly recommend if you've been curious and you want to kind of open these doors and dive in. It's pretty crazy what you can learn about yourself from just this one system. So
That's cool. I actually didn't know about those different colors and, how you're like from birth and then as you grow. That's really, yeah, that makes sense as to, some people disagreeing with some parts and feeling insecure about some of those parts. And then just later on, maybe realizing, okay, I just need to grow into that. And yeah, that's really cool as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just to kind of give a greater synopsis, more of something that you would find if you started your initial research and maybe took a quick course or a master class. But, human design is, like I had mentioned, based mostly as we see it initially and as we learn about it initially on the different chakra centers, with a couple extra places added in. So a lot of it has to do with how your energy, flows from basically like, the top of your head all the way through to your root, and kind of where it stops and where it breaks along the way. Um, Most of what you'll understand from your chart has to do with whether these different energy centers are defined or filled in, or if they're undefined and they're kind of like open. And what that basically means is whether you yourself are actually generating and creating energy in that way, that specific way according to that center, or if you're kind of taking it in from others and kind of like doing with it what you can and reflecting it back therein. So yeah, like we'll talk about here. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can learn about yourself in your chart, how everything connects, details about each little section. But I think for the basis of this conversation, we're going to really talk about how understanding, even at a very small, like surface type level, your human design and the human design of those that you're in relationships with can really like allow you to better build upon that relationship, or maybe even keep some of them a little more surface because you already know a little bit about tensions that might be therein. Um, but yeah, in terms of my own experience, having studied this for, like I had mentioned, 5 years ago, I think I discovered it. It's been something that I've just built on kind of like season after season as I kind of go about my life and go about my growth and kind of circle back to some of these different details and teachings that are in human design that I see play out in my life and my relationships. And I'm like, okay, that makes so much sense. I need to dive deeper into that. I need to get back to human design. So it's been really important and really pivotal in building, you know, my business, of course, um, in how I relate to my clients and those that I'm in business relationships with, how I've built my family, even my relationship with my kids, of course, my relationships and like different, past traumas and issues with relatives, even that's been huge. And then of course, especially like, my marriage, it's helped very much in just more deeply understanding my partner and uh, kind of what makes him tick, what his gifts are, what he doesn't maybe know about himself yet because he hasn't dove into human design quite as much as I have. And it's just been really, really beneficial to how I live my life in my most aligned way because I can understand better and on a deeper level, like the actual humans behind these relationships and maybe why they are the way they are, how unique they are, and also how I can really help and guide them in in our time together. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that we talked about how much you use it with your clients and that you get their birth charts or because it's your birth birthday, your birth time, and the location of birth, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that information is all very important. Uh, that as I understand it, and I'm not, this isn't what I do for a living. Like I am not a human design reader, expert, all of that. But like I said, it's been something that I've dove into time and time again throughout the course of my journey in my life in the past 5 years. But what happens, and the reason that we need those details in order to um, pull and generate your human design chart is the those details determine where the stars were in the sky, what the energy was like for the planet, kind of holistically, and how that affected you coming into this earth, coming earth side. And there's actually, if you do want to study more on that, there actually is even a design date based on that, like when you were still in the womb, which is just so interesting and cool to learn about. But yeah, that is why those details are very important. It is very important to have your time of birth. You wouldn't think that that would matter so much, but it does. Just as in if anyone studied or looked into their astrology and their natal chart, a difference of 10 minutes sometimes can even mean shifting into a different astrological sign, or having a different energy kind of play within how you come into this earth, and how your energy then is welcomed in. So it's very cool.
Yeah, so if you guys go and get your human design chart, make sure you have your birth time right because it could tell you something different and then you might not agree and it might not be helpful. But yeah, how about I'm curious, could you talk more about your personal human design and like what parts of it has helped you maybe understand yourself in relation to others more? Like, I'll give an example. So, for me, I forget what part of it this was under, but when I was reading my human design, like the blueprint I got,
Mhm.
it was telling me that I am not meant to prove myself to people. That, I need to do what I need to do and I can't prove myself or else it's gonna just we swear here, it's just gonna fuck me up. and and that it's okay for me to let friends know or loved ones know what's going on in my life. So let's say I need to pivot last minute on a plan, which my human design says, my I am meant to move with excitement. And if something truly doesn't excite me anymore, then I might need to pivot that plan. And that might mean a change of plan. So letting my friends know what's going on in my life could be helpful and not necessarily trying to prove what I'm doing. So I think that's really helpful for me in relation to not only my friends, but just like my loved ones and the people around me, and just knowing it's okay that I do need to pivot sometimes, and it's not me being a bitch and changing plans last minute. So, like, it kinda gives me that reassurance that, like, this is just part of who I am, and I find that all of my blueprint does that. I'm just like, "Okay, it's giving me permission to be this way,"
Mhm.
like, for the things that I originally might have felt guilty about or felt were wrong about me because it's not what someone else around me wanted from me. And yeah, so I think that was a really interesting point in how it might be helping my friendships.
Yes, yes. And now I forget now, of course, but were you a manifester or manifesting generator?
Manifesting generator.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So yes, and that is such a good point to make. So something that you all can do if you're new to this, check out your human design type and then your strategy. So like Alex was sharing, informing is a strategy of the manifester. And it can really make or break a lot of what you do in the course of your life, how you go about your life, how you make decisions, how you include others, obviously, in those decisions and those choices that you're making. And as Alex is a manifesting generator, so she's a blend of two types, is what that means. And the generator is, they are strongest when they are responding. So she's kind of got at play these two sides where, Alex operates best when she inform someone of what she wants to do, and also when she's constantly responding to choices or opportunities or questions around her, because she really needs to be that player within all these relationships where she's not only a good communicator in how she's informing people what she wants to do or what she wants to start, but she's also responding to then what others kind of send back her way, and different situations that may pop up in her life. So very cool to hear that has helped you really understand how to go about your life in this new way. And yes, to answer your question, I am a projector. So a projector is another type in human design. And my strategy, which is the probably the most difficult one for people to get around when they look up their chart and they find they are projectors, is that our strategy is to wait for the invitation. So to kind of back it up to, like I was saying, like 5 years ago when I discovered human design, I was actually diving into into personal development because I had started a network marketing business. And as you can imagine, in a business like that, or like affiliate marketing, where you're trying to kind of inform people about these products, and you're trying to get into their DMs and start these relationships with them, and sell them essentially the different products, whatever you're selling. I was at a point in my life where I was like starting to see in this company that like that wasn't working for me. That like wasn't my vibe. If people that were close to me were asking about it, I could sell them in like a heartbeat. It was like, oh yeah, you want to know? Let me tell you all this great stuff about it, and specifically how it's perfect for you. So when I discovered human design and that I was a projector, and that my strategy is to wait for the invitation, I was like, first of all, I was like, what the heck does that mean? Like I have to be invited to make these big decisions in my life, and move about the world being invited to everything instead of just like choosing on my own that I want to do things. And but then I took a step back and I like looked at, as I described my current situation in network marketing, I was like, okay, so my strategy is to wait for the invitation, but I've been kind of like inserting myself and selling myself to people and getting, into their world without being invited with these products. Like, okay, maybe that makes sense. Maybe that's where there's a missing piece here. And I really started to kind of pivot and take a look at how I was going about, this business, this side business, and the things that I liked about what I was doing, and that kind of aligned with my design a little bit better, and obviously stopped any kind of cold messaging or anything like that, because it clearly wasn't working for me, and it wasn't meant to work for me because that wasn't part of my personal strategy in my human design. So that's a little bit about how that started, and then how that developed and grew for me personally. Is as a projector, my human design type, we're here to really guide the world and show them new perspectives, and really, I know this is an intense word, but like penetrate their aura and be able to kind of see very deeply within them, their potential, their gifts, their talents, and ways that they can best succeed and move about the world. So when I really dove into understanding that and like stop being distracted by the wait for the invitation part, I was like, oh, okay, like maybe I need to try this coaching thing that I had heard about. Maybe this is like the next path for me. And that's actually how I got into a beautiful program called QCA, which Alex is actually part of as well. And that kind of snowballed and grew to where I am today, where I'm a brand and creativity coach, and I help people really find their inner creativity and help them design a beautiful brand that truly is a reflection of them, to where my feedback almost every single time is like, oh my gosh, I feel so seen. I feel like you nailed it. Like this is exactly who I am and who I've been trying to be in my brand and in my business. So that's kind of full circle how we got here and what my design is and how I've used it.
Yeah, and I just recently heard from two uh no. So, do you know Chelsea Holden and okay, you do. And then do you know her friend Mel?
The Conscious Journaler, is that?
Yes.
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 Yes, I don't know her personally, but I love following the two of them and seeing everything that they're able to
Okay,
create
yeah.
together. Yeah.
I know the listeners don't know what I'm talking about, but like, I was part of like a breakthrough program with them recently that they just made, and that was fantastic. But at the end, I asked them if I could talk to them for 5 minutes because I was just asking something about Oracle cards, but we were talking about human design at one point, and I think Chelsea is the generator. Chelsea, don't hold me to it if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but Mel's a projector, and Chelsea said that, like, when Mel walks into a room, that she immediately can, like, feel the vibe and, like, what other people are feeling around her and just, like, understand these people right off the bat. Well, Chelsea just kinda has to, like, observe more and, like, let it sink in more, but Mel will feel it immediately. And what I'm hearing from you is kind of that, where, like, you'll understand that person immediately and be able to help them with that brand because you get them. And I'm sure like you help people really feel seen, like you said, which is awesome from, especially from a coach perspective and trying to get a brand that's authentic to them. Like that just sounds perfectly aligned. And that's really cool the way that you got to this point of being like, okay, well, my last job, the waiting for the invitation thing wasn't going to work for my position, for my role, and I know that isn't necessarily in relation to relationships, but I feel like also just how you feel in a job really affects how you show up for your partner and for your children. And so even down to like that connection of it helps you put yourself in a place that will bring you a better state of well-being, I guess, because you'll just feel more aligned in life and you
Yeah.
can show up better for all the people around you, even strangers. So, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that's such a good point. And to kind of segue into this other element of human design, which is very important, and another thing that you should highlight and look at if you're new to this and you're just starting to dive in, is everyone has a strategy specific to their human design, and they also have a not self theme, which is kind of like a red flag detector, like a siren going off, telling you that you are not living in alignment for yourself. You're not being authentic to yourself, and something is off. And so, like, for instance, my not self theme is bitterness. So, this very much relates, again, going back to like relationships. And when I'm feeling really bitter towards a friend or my husband, or, even my kids, when my kids are driving me crazy, it's kind of like a reminder, like, for me to look at, okay, why am I feeling this? Did I not communicate well? Did did I did I not take care of myself enough? Like all this kind of stuff. And what has helped me on a deeper level understand my relationships is when I actually know the other person's human design type, and I can get that like red flag, like siren feeling in myself of being bitter. And I can look at them and be like, oh, okay, so I'm bitter with you, my son, not listening, but you're a generator, which is another human design type, and you need to be busy and you need things to respond to. And I'm not giving you that. So I'm in turn out of alignment with myself. We're not having a great communication. This relationship is kind of in jeopardy right now, not with my son, obviously. I love my son, but um but it was just kind of like a great learning and a point when I realized that I could bring all this knowledge into my relationships, into my day-to-day life, and it can really help me better strengthen that relationship. Obviously it can help me be a better mom, help me be more understanding of my kids and their needs, how they learn best, how they best go through the world, but also how they can grow best and how they can grow to be authentically them and not feel like they have to try to be like anybody else, because they're not. Oftentimes they're not. Oftentimes we're emulating and like trying to be like our superiors and whoever we look up to, and oftentimes that's just not going to be how we find our authentic success, because we're not designed to move like them. We're not designed to have their journey. We have our own that we have to kind of get in touch with and figure out so we can make our decisions and grow through life the way that we're supposed to. So
Yeah, yeah. I think this kind of brings up the point of how relationships are mirrors. So
mm,
you see that bitterness in your interactions with your loved ones. And
yes,
for
so
me, the not self theme is frustration, which is so makes so much sense.
true.
And so I would say, like, in my luteal phase of my cycle, which for people who don't know is like the phase right before your period, it's the phase where you feel the shittiest. But like I have like less tolerance for things, and but it kind of brings out my frustration even more to the point that it really highlights what I'm not feeling aligned with. And at first, I thought it was just because like I'm more overwhelmed in that phase, like the luteal phase. So I didn't really take it seriously, but, like, when I learned about human design, I just saw, okay, for me, the not self theme is frustration. I see that amped in that
Mm,
phase, and I can kinda use that as, like, a journal point because, like, it shows me what I really am frustrated and, like, fed up with.
yeah.
So I thought, that was, like, just an interesting thing I wanted to bring up, but yeah, like, the relationships are mirrors, you see the bitterness, and it's interesting. I know that you and I had this conversation about how your child is you said a manifesting generator, right?
My oldest is a generator, which
Generator.
threw me off to learn about because I don't have a lot of generators like close to me in my life. So it was very interesting, especially from a young age. He was always the one that was like very feisty and like throwing tantrums and being, I don't know, just like often like having these like crazy spats. And I didn't truly understand what that was about, like all the energy that he had, until I learned that he was a generator and he needs to be constantly like challenged and like given things to respond to and choices and things like that. So yeah, for sure.
And I think that can, like, clear up when we think I said this earlier kind of, but when we think something's wrong with us,
Yes.
but it's not. And an example that came up for me, so do you know if, like, all manifesting generators need to move with excitement or if that's, like, a separate thing? I don't know if you
Um, so I I know that we all have another level of your human design chart, and what you can learn about yourself is your authority, and that is different for each type. So you could
got it.
be like me.
Oh, yep. Okay, I understand. So I'm sacral. Yeah, my authority is sacral. So it's a lot of more of gut feelings, intuition, and what excites me, which makes a lot of sense. And but there was a question someone asked me like several years ago, and they asked, "Would I rather be excited or would I rather be happy?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is that question?" But like, but I chose excitement. And then I reflected on it later on and I was like, is that just me wanting chaos? Like, is that just me leaning towards chaos and not like contentness or not like peace? But reflecting back on that question again, it's like, no, it's not that. Like, it's not that something is wrong with me for choosing excitement. It's just that's when I feel most alive.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, what was I gonna say? Oh, so my boyfriend, I think his authority is feelings. So moving forward when something feels right.
Mhm.
But he in other respects are really similar to me. So he's also a manifesting generator. His like when the self thing like when things are going right, he feels satisfied. I feel satisfied. His not self theme is frustration, and I'm frustration. And I'm going on a little tangent here, but it's okay. We're gonna accept the tangent. Um, I it, when him and I met for the first time, we met at a wedding, and we didn't get together right after that, but we were like vibing. Like we had a really similar vibe, and I I I see now why we had that vibe. It's just I think it's the manifesting generator aspect to it because we were jumping around doing a bunch of different things just wherever we wanted to go, like whether it be this room in the wedding where like we weren't supposed to be or the car or like we were just all over the place and no one like not anyone else was like kind of all over the place with me. So we just kind of became like best friends that night, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting to see, like, where we align and where we don't, and then I've noticed, like, where we don't align, we have a harder time, and it sounds, like, similar with you and your children, it's, like because you don't really understand,
Mhm.
and part of your job in relationships is to try to understand that person or else it's just gonna fall apart eventually,
Yeah.
right? Um, and he has a defined, um, head, right? Head, and I
Mhm.
have an undefined head. So if I'm understanding this correctly, again, I'm still learning this, but, um, I am less solidified about my thoughts on things.
Mhm.
I don't really have, like, solid opinions and solid statements, but
Mhm.
he definitely has solid opinions and statements and thoughts,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, "I don't know how you can be so sure about something," and it got to a point where I'm like, "Is he judging people?" Like, and I'm not judging people, that but looking at the human design, that changed things in my mind. I'm like, it's not a good or bad thing. It's just different. And I think that's really helpful in relationships too. Knowing it's just different and you just don't understand. It's not good or bad.
What he can take from this and understanding how you can better like work together, and you of course too can take from this, is that he's going to have just like these opinions and these thoughts and feel very strongly in them, and he has to understand that like you're not meant to. You need to kind of like gather your thoughts and learn from other people and like really take that in to then be able to have your own authentic thought, whereas he's already got that flowing, he's got that going for him. So that's just like another way that getting to know all these intricate details of human design and your individual chart and someone that you're close to in a relationship with, whether it's a love relationship or a family relationship or with your kids, even like I had said, it's like it's so helpful to start understanding these details, and how you can best work together and how you guys can really build off of each other and grow with each other instead of seeing these differences and details as like flaws or red flags. Even it's like, no, this is just who this person is. And there is a way that you can leverage your gifts and help them out, and vice versa, you know? So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It is really cool. And I want to mention one more part of human design, but then I want to ask you to share your contact information and what you can do. I know we already talked about what you do for your clients to
Yeah.
some extent, but I want to give you your time to shine in a moment. But I want to talk about the lines. So,
Yes.
just because I think those are so important too, I'm still kind of like trying to figure out how my authority and my lines, my profile lines kind of intersect and play with each other, but I'm a 1-3 line. So for me, it's a lot of for me making decisions, I have to do a lot of research and I also have to do a lot of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Is my like basic understanding of it. And then my authority, like I said, is sacral, so it's a lot of gut feelings. So
Mm-hmm.
when you combine like the sacral and the trial and error, there's a lot of like, all right, Luke, my boyfriend's like, that's my partner's name.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to trust me on this. And I might fail, I might fuck up, but I need to try it anyways.
Yeah.
And I think that can be really hard for like if he is very supportive, so he sees my intuitive decisions unfold usually really well.
Mm-hmm.
But that can be really hard for someone, a significant other with a very logical mind or someone who needs to like a few days to think about something.
Yeah.
So there was a big decision I made recently, which I said this on my podcast recently, but basically I followed energetic signs of something I wrote down when I was journaling and it led to a big purchase. But I wanted to just tell Luke my decision because even though it's not his money, I know it's a big chunk of money and I just want like I was like we need to sit down and talk about this. And I'm like this might not make a lot of sense in your mind or anyone else's mind but my own,
Yeah.
but I need to just tell you this is the decision I'm making and this is how I got here. It's just not going to be the most logical steps for someone to hear.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's interesting because knowing this human design just helped me understand when I was talking to him that what I was saying wasn't bad. Like what I was experiencing, like not having that full logic wasn't me being irresponsible and
Mhm.
stupid. So I could say it with more confidence, knowing that this is the right decision for me, but I'm just telling you, I'm just letting you know.
Yes. Yes. So cool. Yeah. So your lines and your profile. So everyone has two different lines in their profile. They're numbers specifically that you can then look them up and learn more about them. But what is interesting, and this ties back to earlier in our conversation. So those two different numbers, they, depending on, what order they're in or which one's first, which one's second, they reflect kind of that inner like soul personality of you, like your how you came into existence and like what's true like inside for you, and your journey in life. um and then on the other side of the colon is like what's external for you, so like what other people experience from you, like the personality that you kind of like emit and what you've created for yourself kind of in this life. So that kind of goes back to like we talked about the two different sides of the human design chart. And like Alex said, like you said you were at 3-1. What did you say you were? Sorry. 1-3. Okay. So if she was a 3-1, she would still have those like characteristics about herself, about her personality and her energy. But they would be experienced by other people and shown in different ways. So it's very interesting when you start getting into the profile lines, because if you get them in the wrong order or you try to look them up and they're actually reversed, it could have a totally different meaning on how you experience and go through life and how your energy best like interacts with others and things like that. So that's also a very interesting thing to look up if you're just getting started. I'm not a super expert on that because there's so many more details like for each number and like I said, like in each location, whichever side of, the profile you are. But very cool to learn a little bit deeper about yourself and how you best kind of like interact with your environment, with other people, all the things. So cool.
Yeah, I'm learning from you right now as to like deeper what they mean because I have the blueprint and I started learning about human design as of last summer in terms of like money manifestation. So I only like learned a few different parts, but I
Mhm.
haven't learned like I haven't really researched it that deeply. So that's actually really cool to know. So
Yeah.
yeah, what is your profile lines?
So I'm a 5-1. And I'll have to go back in the archives to figure out exactly what that means for me. But that means that I am a heretic investigator. And what's interesting too, just like with that said, is like I actually have a friend, a close like business bestie of mine, who is totally not a projector like me. Like she's, I think, a manifesting generator, but she either also has like one of my numbers, like a 5 or a 1, or she has both of them. So like we go about life in a similar way. We like make decisions and interact with others in a similar way based on, these numbers, but we're totally different types and we have totally different success strategies and totally different things that make us tick. But like these profile lines kind of bring us together, and like it's a very interesting thing, like when you want to dive a little deeper, like past just learning your human design type and all of that. But like if you want to really get to know your line profile, you could potentially have a lot of things in common with someone who's a totally different type from you, who on paper, if you're just looking at the rest of their human design, like maybe shouldn't be as similar to you or shouldn't move about the world the way that you do, but you guys do, and you're friends for it because you've kind of connected and bonded over that. So it's very interesting and very cool to add that as like another layer to learning your human design for like the people that you're in relationships with, and then just using that um to better go about your life. And I think another thing that I just kind of want to like leave this conversation with is that like human design, it's great for you to get to know yourself, obviously, get to know other people, and learn about how you can find success in this life and all of that. But one thing, the main thing that I loved about it when I first got into it and first started learning about it and understanding it is just how crazy validating it can be to learn these details about yourself that maybe the whole world has made you think you were weird or different or crazy for having like those details, right? And it's like when you start to see everything unfold and you're looking through the lens of human design, kind of like how I had shared about like network marketing and stuff, like all of my like leaders and the people that were trying to help me in my business, like they were looking at me like I wasn't trying or like I was crazy or something. And I'm like, and then to hear that I'm literally not meant to cold message someone, like I'm not meant to do that. That is not how I will find success. It was extremely validating for me. It made me feel more worthy of being an entrepreneur and like being able to start a business. Um, I just knew now that like my approach had to be different, And so I think that that's just a really cool aspect of this whole human design journey. And if you're feeling called to learn more, definitely do, because it can be not only informative but also extremely validating in a way that I don't think a whole lot of other things can be.
For sure. Oh my god. I don't think someone else could validate me as much as my human design could.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, and that's okay. Yes. Oh my god. Honestly, your story of getting there is so cool too. And just the fact that people wondered if you were even trying when you were. And like for me, in if I try or when I've worked for other people, I had a hard time staying in jobs for long 'Cause
Mm,
if it no longer excited me, I was like, "I'm out." Like, mentally, I'm out. So, like, I'm so glad that I'm now, like, in my own business because I get to call the shots in the direction that excites me. But,
yeah.
okay, we're gonna leave it there. So thank you so much for all of your information and sharing your personal story and being open to kinda commenting on my experiences too and expanding on, like, what those mean, and yeah, so that's awesome, and how can people work with you? How can they contact you? And is there anything you want to promote on here because you are a wonderful coach?
Oh, thank you. Yes, of course. If you've resonated with any of this, I just want to also add that this has been such an important part of me not only incorporating human design and my learnings into my own life and my own business and how I've grown and built that, but also I have started including that in how I work with my clients and how I help them identify their own personal, business success strategy, social media success strategy, all of it from the perspective of branding and marketing and all of that. So I would love to invite you into my world. Definitely follow me at the Align Designer on Instagram. That's where I hang out most. But also check out my website, aligndesigner.com. Learn more about kind of my process, how I help people find and build their most aligned brand. And yeah, we've got a big I have a 3-month brand coaching container I call the Creative Quarter, and it's solely designed to help you live and build your most creative quarter in your business. And we dive into all things from, who your brand is, what you do, and how you do it differently, all along the way while infusing kind of these details of your human design and so much more. So I'd love to invite you to take a look at that. But yeah, otherwise, I've had so much fun chatting on here. This is great. And I honestly feel like just like voicing all of this out loud, it's gotten me excited. Like I'm about to pull up my chart and learn some more today myself. And that is the cool thing is that there's so many details and so many things to expand your learning on, which I love. So thank you.
And all of those will be in the show notes as well. So your Instagram handle and the website, and I will even include like the program in there. So those will all be in the show notes. So there's no excuse for anyone who wants to work with her. It is all available on here and the show notes. And yeah, honestly, I like read my whole blueprint that I was given in like 4 days. And it was like 60 pages. But I was like, it was just so good to read, and I definitely need to, like, go back and read more because I
Mm,
think the more that I look into it, the more that I can point out where that makes sense in my life and how that could help at different stages in my life as well. But, of course, there's some things that stick out that definitely I think the ones that stick out, the parts that stick out, is the ones that feel most validating. You
mm,
know, like, the ones that, like, no one else validated me on, but this is validating me, so they, like, stick with me.
yeah.
Like I said, the change of plans or pivoting plans is I used to feel, like, bad or feel like I had to go through with a plan even though I just really did not feel aligned with it anymore.
Mm,
But now knowing that that's just not how I work to, like, have to stick to every single plan that I set up and, like, you know, keep that promise, I feel a lot better about how I move through the day, and
yeah.
it feels more fulfilling, but yeah, okay, so everyone, please rate the show, give it a 5 star because we have some wonderful people on here, and drop a comment, let us know how you thought about it, what you think was really interesting about human design, and if you are interested in working with Tessa, but especially reach out to her personally and send me a DM too as to how you felt about the show. And yeah, just let us know.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.